head of finance and I was 22 for a £10 million business. And I had no accountancy training. And that business went dramatically bust. It just imploded. I was just left with, oh, that's my fault.
Oh, gosh. Because you were head of finance.
That's down to me, yeah. This is happening for a reason. What's the lesson here to learn? There's a way and I will find it. It's part of this hustle culture that's still quite dominant today, and having the guts to say, I'm anti-hustle culture. I don't want this. I'm calling that stuff out. That's what keeps me going when things feel really hard, when I feel like I've come to the end of the road and I don't know what to do anymore. I haven't come this far to only come this far.
Welcome to Beyond the Numbers. I'm Bev Wakefield, and this is the podcast where we take the stress out of business finance and break down the numbers in a way that actually makes sense. I'm so excited about today's guest because she is a firecracker of honesty, humour and heart. And she's on a mission to change the way we talk about things so many people avoid: money. Serena Humphreys is the voice behind the F word. And spoiler, the F stands for finance. She brings a fresh, fearless take on how we handle money, especially as women, business owners and humans navigating modern life. But Serena's story just isn't about numbers. It's about overcoming her own financial battles, facing shame, and turning those experiences into fuel for helping others. This episode is a raw and relatable dive into money mindset, entrepreneurial highs and lows, and how the scariest conversations often lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Wow, that was quite an intro. Blimey. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. So let's take it back perhaps more towards the beginning. Who were you before the F word?
Before the F word? Well, before I set my first business up, I was an accountant at Next, at head office. I was an analyst, working amongst like loads of other accountants, working on, the stock position and the import position and looking after head office. But doing that, planning my first business.
Nice.
Always had the massive ambition that one day I'd be the next Richard Branson. Before I kind of realised what that really meant. But that was I was spending my time there, just biding my time until I had the qualifications and the experience to jump ship. And I've been planning my business for years.
That's amazing.
And before that, I'd just been working in finance in smaller companies and just getting the big PLC experience.
So you were ready to go then. So you took that leap from corporate next world and jumped 2 feet in.
I did, although it had been planned probably for maybe 10 years before,
okay.
To be fair. So it's the culmination of right now I've got what I need to go.
That's interesting as well. Why did it take 10 years, do you think?
It took 10 years from the founding of the mission through to qualifying.
Yeah, okay.
And feeling that I had enough experience behind me to actually go and do what I wanted to do. So had I worked with enough companies, had I worked in blue chips, so I understood what it really meant to do it well. And to feel like, have I got enough credibility and guts, I think, to go out there and say, this is what I want to change. And I was 30 when I did that, so it felt like there was enough. Now, nowadays, people leave at uni and go into business. That wasn't happening then.
No.
I think there was a feeling you had to go and earn your stripes first.
Yes, and I guess that's something a little bit about us sometimes where we feel like we need more. You were probably ready earlier, but actually there's a little bit sometimes, isn't there, of imposter syndrome of going, oh, actually, if I just get one more qualification or one more job under my CV.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that's really interesting. So Richard Branson type entrepreneurial journey was calling, 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
The business I've been planning for all those years was bringing the kind of financial control and information into small companies that would stop them, I guess, being able to fail because of the traumas I'd been through. And enabling them, and it's bringing something that small companies didn't have then, because back in 2000, small companies didn't have management accounts. It wasn't a thing. And as I started to qualify and realising, if I'd have known this, if I could have put this in place, and watching like other businesses fail around me, especially going through the recession of the early 90s, and thinking, all these things that didn't need to have happened because nobody knows, small companies don't know this stuff. I mean, it's different now, but then... Is it different? Well, a lot of small companies still don't, but that management accounting wasn't a thing outside of large corporates. And it's like I'm taking corporate quality financial management into the smallest of businesses so that they get the same chance too.
And there was clearly a drive there, because you said there was the trauma surrounding that. There was clearly a drive to want to bring this to small businesses that I know a little bit about. But would you be happy to share?
Yeah, sure. So everything I do now came from this mission that got forged in my early 20s. And there were 3 really quite massive financial traumas that I went through. The first thing was that my parents, who've always been entrepreneurs, even when I was a baby, they had their first hotel. I was kept in the kitchen and they'd stick a bottle in my face as they walked past serving tables. And they've always had their own business. So I've grown up in that environment. And they've always been ambitious. They've always been, going after their dreams. And they bought their dream hotel in Scotland in the very early 90s. And it was just as the market was crashing. And they ended up in a bridging loan situation. And even though they'd never defaulted on a penny, the bank called the debt in because he decided he didn't want anything in Scotland. So I watched them lose everything, the home, and starting again in their mid-40s. I then lost the house that I'd bought when I was 18, when the interest rates went to 15%, and the mortgage was literally more than my take-home pay. So I handed the keys back to the Building Society and moved in with mum and dad in their rental. And then the job I was working, it was this. You get those companies in your career where they're just amazing, the energy, the people. And I joined them when they were doing £500,000 a year. And when 3 years later, we were doing 10 million. That's insane scaling. As you and I know, we would not recommend that to anybody. Insane scale, but the most amazing company and people and energy. And I thought, I could just be there forever. In fact, I'd even go back and be there now if I could. And this business had scaled so quickly. Oh, and what I didn't mention was I was head of finance and I was 22 for a £10 million business.
Wow.
And I had no accountancy training. I didn't even know what debits and credits were. We didn't have management accounts. We just worked on cash flow. And that business went dramatically bust in, I think, May 93. And I was the one that took the phone call from the MD to say, we're with the liquidators. I need you to shut the company down. Yeah. I need you to go and tell everyone it's Friday afternoon, you are not getting paid and you've lost your job. We had stores all over the country, I had to ring them all up and tell them to close the doors and stop trading. And that on the top of the first 2 things, and because it was just like a business that felt like it was your own.
Yeah.
And just then I stayed and worked with the owners to wind the company up, just work for free for 2 months just to be there. And the liquidators would come in, take the rings off my boss's finger, drive their car away. It's the days when they took everything. They literally stripped your house. They took everything you had. And, they'd made mistakes for sure, but they were good people with a good heart who did nothing but work their socks off to build employment for people and build opportunity. And watching all that happened, and I was just left with, oh, that's my fault.
Oh, gosh. Because you were head of finance.
That's down to me, yeah. And I just knew I had to find out what happened, because I didn't know. I didn't know what overtrading was, or I didn't know. I was 22. So I thought, right, I have to go and become an accountant, because I've got to know. I have to know what I could have done and what can be different. And I started qualifying, and literally almost like term 1 of year 1, it's like, oh, it's so obvious. It was textbook. It was, they were trading far too quickly for the cash they had, which we call overtrading. They didn't have enough money for the growth plans they were doing. Cash flow was stretched to breaking point. There was no management accounts. We had intercompanies that were so hopelessly intertwined. We had no idea who owed who money. And there's me with my manual ledger and Sage, good old Sage from the olden days. Doing our best, managing cash flow, looking at the store's takings, but that was it. We had nothing else, and we were expanding using reverse premiums and rent-free periods and cap fit contributions, shop fit contributions, and it was literally building a house of cards.
Yeah, so there's so many hidden costs that you didn't know were happening because it wasn't obviously hitting cash at that point, but it was going to come in the future.
And all these rent-free, suddenly all ran out at the same time, and all these big rent bills started coming in, and the rates bills, and now we're talking flagship like Meadow Hall, Blue Water. We're in all the flagship shopping centres all over the country because they were throwing money at people to get them in. And then the business, it just imploded. Oh, but, so going out to the factory and calling everyone together and saying, I'm sorry, guys, but we're stopping trade. And no one could believe it. Of course they couldn't. No, you really have lost your job, and I really don't have your pay packets with me. And that's it. So that became a mission of like, I now know what I could have done to stop it, assuming the boss would listen, and assuming you had the communication skills and the gravitas to pull that off. That didn't need to have happened, and that was an amazing company with amazing people who worked so hard. And then you go, well, who else is failing like this? And I saw my parents fail, my parents' friends' businesses fail. And you're just looking around going, small businesses get a really deal here, actually, because where was the accountant saying to them, this is insane, we need to put an FD in? Why, the banks were throwing money at us, why weren't they saying, you've got to have an FD in here, this is not okay? I know that would be different nowadays, but it was just this thing of like, small companies get a deal because they aren't told what they could do. They don't get the support and they're just left to get on with it. And that's why so many of them fail.
No, it's a scary stat, isn't it?
Really scary. And I think it's just the small business owner, it's born from passion and vision and working crazy hours. And it's different to corporate land. It's where you're putting everything on the line for what you believe in and you're not getting the right support.
No.
And it's like, well, how can I change that?
So then you did. So you set up your business then to change exactly that. You've got a very strong purpose as to why. What did that look like and how did that feel, all of a sudden being a business owner yourself?
Oh, gosh. Right. So I remember leaving Next, giving back my beautiful A3 company car. It's my pride and joy. Cashing in my share options and sitting at home going like, oh, what do I do next? And the first 6 months I lived on £293.66p, which was my very first client.
Wow.
Who was actually the guy who gave me my very first job when I was 16. He became my first client. And Sean was saying to me, my husband, you've got till Christmas, then you're getting a job.
Nothing like a deadline, hey?
No, that was 25 years ago. And yeah, it's hard. And I don't think it really gets much easier. But yeah, just hard. But I knew what I wanted to do. The mission was so deep. Like, no, I'm not giving up on this. And people going like, yeah, but I don't really know what these management accounts are. And like, so you creating the market. Yeah. That's kind of been the story of my life, I think, creating new markets all the time because I like to do something different to everybody else.
That's good.
Just to make life difficult. But yeah, so I set up a bookkeeping management accounting practice, which I grew to a team of 12 before I sold it 11, 12 years later.
No.
But yeah, it was once people started to realise, like, oh, so accurate bookkeeping. Oh, and information that tells me where I'm going. Oh, okay, that's novel.
Not 18 months ago.
Exactly. Not like wait till year end, but like this month, like, oh, okay. Creating a plan, being in control. So I started to get, I had a few good bank managers that recommended me to all their clients, and it really grew really quickly from there.
That's incredible. What was the hardest part then in that kind of, was it 11-year journey that you had? What was the hardest part of that?
The hardest part, I suppose if I'm going out, the pure single hardest time was having a breakdown and burning out and getting ME. I'd say it was up there with the hard bits.
Pretty hard time, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was just from the inherited culture I had from my parents being business owners, especially in hospitality. It's the 80-hour weeks. And it was very much, it's part of this hustle culture that's still quite dominant today of like, it's about hustling, it's about the hours, it's about the badge of honour, how stressed are you? And I was fully signed up to that way of thinking. Plus the fact, it's bloody hard growing a business, so you do have to put the hours in. But yeah, I just completely burned out to the point where I couldn't speak. And I had like a year and a half at home where I struggled to leave the house. I did when I had to, if I had to go and see a client, but then I would just have to go to bed for 2 days afterwards. But and being told that you've got ME and there's nothing you can do, so you better just write your life off, which is what they basically said to me.
That's crazy.
So,
how long after this then, the burnout and the ME diagnosis, did you then exit the business or did you kind of carry on?
I carried on for another, let me think how long I carried on for. To be fair, probably only less than a year, I think, less than a year. I remember going to bed New Year's Eve and lying there thinking, I can't go back. Right. I just hate it. Because what I'd realised was I'm following this blueprint that I've been given, and it's about get the office in town, employ people, scale, bring your leadership team in. And it was never positioned as there was any kind of option. Mm-hmm. That was the only blueprint. To be successful, that's what you had to do. And otherwise, are you just a lifestyle business? They're very patronising. Yeah. It was like, this is what you do if you're serious. Otherwise, no one's interested. So I follow the blueprint. And for me, what I learned was I'm not a leader of people. I don't want to manage people. I'm a lone wolf who wants to go and do amazing work on my own terms, making stuff up as I go along and switching lanes when I feel like it. Be able to be creative, free, not meeting payroll for 12 people, going out there hunting down the work, reviewing everyone's accounts, managing them. You realise that, do you know what, that's not my thing. There are people who are great at it, and I know you are. I'm not.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? And it's finding your lane, or when you want to switch lanes as well, but actually finding something you're deeply passionate about. And if people management isn't for you, then yes, there's a way of putting a leadership team in to kind of enable that.
You've still got to manage them.
But you've still got someone to manage, even if it's your leadership team then, isn't it?
And I had a business partner, and whilst we were on the same page in the early days, there's quite an age gap, and as the years went by, that age gap really magnified.
Right.
And we were just not wanting the same things in life anymore, and that was putting a huge amount of pressure into both of our lives, really.
Right, yeah.
And I think that was part of this thing of like, I don't belong in this business anymore. You guys want different things to me, and I need to leave.
And what did that exit look like then? Was that exit selling it completely, or was it selling it to your business partner?
Sold it to her, yeah. So she took the business over. Yeah.
Got you, which is a kind of an easier route in a certain way, because I guess at least it's kind of continuing.
And it's in safe hands, it's continuing. You haven't got to go through that whole process of trying to find a buyer and keep it profitable and viable in the meantime, which is obviously really hard anyway, but especially when you've checked out emotionally and decided that this is not good for my health anymore. And it just wasn't what I wanted to do. For me, like running an accountancy practice was, it just wasn't good for my nervous system.
No.
It just wasn't, and that kind of level of pressure and the people. And it's just recognising that, that lane might be what we're being told to do. But and the biggest barrier to me doing that was actually, what will everybody say and think of me? That was when I can no longer say, hey, I own this practice and all these people. That was the biggest barrier to me, is like, what would people think?
The thought that you were failing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were cashing out of a business that you no longer wanted to be in.
Yes, and then the dominant thought for me was, if I can't scale a business, I'm done for, I'm a failure, and I'm never going to be successful.
How did you get over that then? So you lay there New Year's Day going, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm done, I'm checking out, I'll sell to my business partner. But how did you come back from that? Because you've gone through that barrier of, I'm going to be a failure.
I think for the first couple of months, it was like, what will people think? What will people think? And at the time, I was doing a lot of stuff with the Nottingham Post. I was always being interviewed in there. I had a weekly column. It's like, what will they think of me? What will they? Actually, there are no they. No one actually cares at all. I think once I got out and thought, I just felt so free. I got energised. Thought, right, back to the mission.
Nice.
The mission still stands. How can I find a different way to do it?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be building a management accounting practice. So then it was like, do you know what? If we trained finance people within the companies, and if we train the business owners to actually know how to read their accounts, all the stuff that you do, how to read the accounts, what am I looking for, how to build the business, how to make it sustainable, safe, profitable. But it was very much about upskilling people who had a finance manager or a bookkeeper who weren't very good because they just didn't know what they didn't know, and training them, giving them the systems, the controls, the processes, so that they elevated, and then they, that rising ship took the business with them. And that was making such a huge difference to people, because suddenly you got a number of people who've gone on to take their SEMA exams because of the training we went in and did, and inspired them. They went like, I want to be you. And they've gone on and qualified as accountants, which has been such an amazing thing to see.
Yeah. So that was that journey straight after. So you were almost going, right, let's upskill everyone.
Yeah.
You've seen people.
Because then you've got the leverage of actually, if I can go in and put this, the way I do things, and put it into all these companies, they don't need me then. I've leveraged it and I've given them the skill set. And we did that, and I actually grew a different way. I did that through a licence model. So I had licensees around the country delivering the train them to F-word standards. And
nice.
this is what we do when we go in. We have a process and a structure. And I had people around the country training people and doing that for them. And that was a lot less management than staff.
Yeah.
Which, I kind of liken to, not that I've got kids, but I liken it to managing kids. You used to have almost fights between the accountants when it was like birthdays and someone didn't want to eat the cake because they were on a diet. And it's just like, I can't be doing this. So I've got a big mission. I've not got time for this.
I'm not worried about cake.
I am not worried about cake. Let me eat it, but I'm not worried about it. So that was the next part of the mission to me. Like, well, actually, if I train people, and I did a lot of speaking, I ran a lot of like chamber events, and had paper columns, and I had a lot of press around that time. But really, and it was like before people were talking really much about how to upskill small companies. But like, if people then like, oh, I can read a profit and loss, that changes everything, because suddenly you can see where you're making money and you can make a different decision. It changes everything. So like, it's like, teach the man to fish. It's like go in and put those skills into the companies.
Yeah, rather than getting one fish. No,
exactly, yeah.
Incredible. So what happened with that side of things then? So you're obviously running this business. It looks great. You in the right media, you've got over that worry that actually Serena's not going to be seen as the person that can still make that impact and be a success.
Yeah.
And then
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID, yeah. So all these training programs we got booked, all obviously got cancelled because people weren't doing. And it wasn't like, oh, let's train our staff. It's like, let's survive.
Yeah.
So training obviously took a back step in everything there, and then I kind of found myself being pulled into companies who wanted fractional CFO support. Really like, we need you in here. So I ended up very quickly building a portfolio of about 8 companies where I was fractional CFO for them. Like going through that whole like COVID time, and then the rebuilding after COVID, and then people getting back onto growth plans and strategy and scaling up to exit.
So that must have been exciting.
It was exciting, yeah, and I learned a lot doing that because it was a very, very different energy. There were bigger businesses. It was really stretching, especially when you're operating at that level in so many companies all at once. Incredibly intense.
Nice to take learnings from one another, I imagine.
Very much so, because you could really see similarities between either your mindsets or beliefs, or the way you think, or like, oh, that's a really good idea, and I'm going to take that to my. And people actually like the fact that where else are you seeing things? What ideas have you got? And also kind of sharing market sentiment. So it's very much like marketing agencies I was working in, so kind of sharing that industry view around clients and people, kind of just sharing what people were thinking and doing.
But it still wasn't giving you what you wanted.
Well, no, it wasn't, because it was kind of the easy move coming out. Oh, the COVID hit, the training business obviously was put on hold, and it was going where I was needed, and it was helping people in the moment. But the longer time went on, I'm going like, but I've lost my voice. I've lost the mission. I've become and I've just become a CFO. I don't mean just CFO. I've become a CFO within people's businesses, and for me, I need to be outside.
Impacting more
and having a voice and leading a conversation and getting back to that mission. Like, time's ticking on now. I need to get back to that. So last August, I just made a decision of like, can't do this anymore. I'm going to wind up all of my CFO relationships. I don't know what comes next, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I knew that I couldn't create the new thing in the energy of the old thing.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm honest, as awesome as all my clients were, they were all in this hustle, scale and exit energy.
Yeah.
And what I realised working with them, that was quite disturbing to my soul. I just
Didn't
kind of knew like...
well, not culturally, the people probably fit, but actually the ethos of 10X wasn't feeling fit.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But it made me realise, and I had quite such a visceral reaction to it, of like, this isn't what... And also at the time, there's a feeling of like, you need to grow up and work with the bigger companies, and that's what it's all about, and you need to understand exit and valuation. And I do understand all that stuff, but working in it and thinking, this isn't where my heart is. My heart is with the smaller companies who are at that point where like they need something to get them through from the kind of the overwhelm and the slightly chaos and the kind of winging it parts, where they go like, I get it now, and now they can go on and become amazing companies. But until you get past that step, you're really stuck. And it's where everything's more raw, and it's more about the human. Whereas when you're at the bigger company, it's all about, the leadership team, and it's very different dynamics. And the priorities are all about the EBIT and the EBIT multiple. And for me, that's where the human bit is missing.
Yeah. And
it's all about, achieving that exit. So I came out of that thinking, so what do people do then if they don't want that? Because I'm starting to feel like there's the anti-hustle thing. I realised that I was completely anti-hustle. I was this is the path to success, and this is what you must do to make money and to be seen as a success. And I'm kind of going like, if that doesn't work for me, and I was finding more and more people saying like, hey, me neither.
Yeah.
Going like, well, what do you do then if you don't want to exit? And I realised, well, without realising, I'd gone and done that. I thought, right, I'm never going to scale and exit a company. So what I started doing when I left that business was build my business up, earn really good money, load my pension up, clear my mortgage.
Create your freedom number.
And get your freedom sooner.
Yeah.
So I then realised I was early 50s, mortgage was cleared, and we're pretty much on track to be, to have complete financial security. I'm going like, but I did that without exiting and scaling and exiting. Like, well, there's a lot of people who don't want the stress, who don't want the burnout, who don't want the compromise of never seeing their family and having no time to exercise and to even feel human and happy. Mm-hmm. So there's loads of people who feel this. So I thought, right, it's time to just forget what other people are going to think.
Yeah.
Again, it almost felt like another giving up point of like, I don't want this whole EBIT hustle exit culture thing anymore. What I want to do is go to where my heart is. And I want to help people who I can show them a way that you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can do it through running a really great business that's solid foundations, profitable, cash rich, build your buffer cash, get money in your pension, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Yeah. And I can help them to do that. And I can help people, but also getting them clear on what does success even mean for you.
Yeah.
Because most people have never stopped to ask the question and they're just running on the treadmill, hoping that one day, it'll all somehow work out okay. Mm. And it doesn't. And even the whole, I'm banking everything on an exit, you'll know how many people actually get to exit. They've maybe said, this is my plan, but the percentage is something like less than 10%, I think, of companies who want to sell will ever sell. So if you're banking on that and you've not secured your future, where do you go then? So it's like, do you know what? The smart play here is secure company, stash your pension or your investments. And if you get to sell, great. But if you don't, you can still get your freedom this way. And like you say, it's about buying the freedom date. Like, what's the soonest I can become free rather than get loads of debt and run till I'm 70. Because people do say, I never want to give up work. Yeah, but you will do one day.
Yeah, and sometimes we never know what's going to happen either, do we? In terms of actually, if you're relying on the business sale and actually you're unwell or you need to go and care for someone in your family and actually you've got to do an abortive sale almost, you're not going to, even if it is ready to sell, you're not going to get the value still. So
and that's when you're at 30, I had that same energy of like, I'll never want to retire. I'm going to do this forever. I love it. Mm. I had cancer in my late 40s and, I had the burnout. And then you go like, none of this is fun.
No.
And I don't want to live like this. I don't. I'm so glad I didn't commit myself to have to keep living like that through my 40s as well, because it wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. And to be able to say, I now have the choice.
Yeah.
I do this now because I really, really want to. And I bought that choice by making those decisions.
No, that's amazing.
Rather than just running on that treadmill, hoping one day it would all pan out.
So you stopped doing your fractional stuff and you went, right, I'm going to clear my brain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get ready for my next period. This almost feels like that slot again where did your husband go, you've got till Christmas?
No, because this time mortgage is cleared off.
Yeah, okay, less
I'm
pressure.
Obsessive about buffer cash.
Yeah.
Obsessive about buffer cash. So there's money in the bank for as long as we need it.
Yep.
We've got the investments. There's
no pressure this time.
And as it happened, as my clients wound down, new clients started coming in, and I never actually had to touch any of my cash. But it's like, I'm taking this time out. I've earned it.
Nice.
This is what I'm doing now, and it is whatever it is. But I have to take the time to reposition to what I want to do for the rest of my career now, and be really sure about it. And it has to come from my heart. I have to spend enough time putting it together so it really feels like, no, this is it. Not old me would have said, right, big bit of paper, let's work out a new plan immediately. This is like, no, this needs time.
And it could be considered more because you hadn't got the financial pressures. Yeah. You'd made this choice. You were being pulled again by purpose and mindset.
Yeah. So when I started winding out, which was like September time, it was only 16 weeks ago that I launched the new thing anyway. So that it took September through till March to actually say, right, this is it. This is the thing now.
I'm now clear on what I'm doing.
Yeah. But it was the luxury of being able to have that time to work it out.
That's amazing. So sometimes there's a moment that does change everything. It feels like you've had quite a few of those moments, to be fair. Is there something, though, that shifted perhaps your mindset?
I think there's so many points, aren't there, where, because, I know that you're the same as me in terms of that growth. You're always investing in yourself, always growing, always learning. And there's kind of like, it's almost a ladder, isn't it? There's so much growth and realisation, and you sort of, I think actually, there probably is actually, obviously, apart from the big crises that changed the direction of my life. I went on I joined a year-long mastermind program in 2015, and I'd never ever invested in myself before. I'd certainly never paid, I forked out £15,000 for a personal development program. It was but I was at a point in my life where, and I was probably like 3 or 4 years into having left my first business, but I was still very much in the old energy. I was still doing, there's still the same kind of, I hadn't had an exposure to a different alternative perspective, I think. It was still like, grow, hustle, work the hours. And I met this lady called Kate. It was Kate Gerry at the time. And she met her and it's like going, ooh, she's got an interesting energy. And she was starting this retreat program with coaching and quarterly retreats. And it's like, and my kind of heart just went, I have to do this.
Nice.
I mean, I've never invested in anything like that in my life. Did it without telling my husband. He wasn't happy. But it was the turning point of my life. It showed me that there was this thing about, oh, what if life could feel fun and joyful? What if you could have health? What if, and just opening my mind to coaching, and so it took me away from very much left brain Serena. So I'd always been left brain logic, very masculine energy, very driven. And it opened up this really different side of me of like joy and creativity and having feelings.
Nice.
I want this to feel nice. Whereas we're like, feel nice? What are you, ridiculous? Look at your P&L.
Yeah.
But it was just this whole thing of like, oh, there's this completely different way to live. So yeah, that was transformational.
That's incredible.
It really just shifted my entire perspective on life and realising that, business and money aren't about logic. They're about emotion. They're about freedom. They're about what you want for your family. It's what it means to people, isn't it? It's not just a logical process.
No, money is so emotive as well, isn't it? And it's something that so many people struggle with and want to just put their heads in the sand because it feels too difficult, too challenging to deal with, whatever. Sure. And I know you do a lot on mindsets as well, money mindsets. And actually, yeah, you're right. Sometimes we don't look at them as emotionally as we need to. And that's why sometimes I say maths isn't my bag. Like, I'm not a mathematician. Yeah. I am purely a human and actually think about... And you'll have time over the years where you give a client some advice and it's so logical and obvious why they should do it, and they don't. And then you realise it wasn't because the logic was wrong, it's because their emotional reaction to it. Mm-hmm. They're in fear or they're panic. There's a reason why people don't do things. And it's not usually because of the logic. No. If it was, we'd all be living perfect lives. Yeah, wouldn't we? Can you imagine? So looking back, was there any tactics, habits or decisions that really helped you move the needle? And I think for you, because sometimes I'll look at this in terms of like a success side, in terms of what actually worked, what helped you move the needle for your business. But I feel this is more purpose-led for you. This isn't, I invested in, well, the coaching obviously helped and the other side of it.
Yeah, it's without question for me, it's the mission, because that's been my driving force since I was 22. I always knew I had to do something about that. And I'm still living that out.
I was just about to say, have you been able to work through that? Because that's a big trauma to have carried from 22, isn't it?
Well, clearly I still cry over it.
Yeah.
It's still there. It took me, I did a lot of counselling and coaching over the whole, the three traumas, combined for sure. And the impact on my parents and on me, and they were big things to happen before you're 23. So I think certainly being mission driven, and that thing is, it lives in me here. It just never goes away, and it never will, and that's what drives every single thing that I do. But I think in terms of the, I suppose the things that have sustained me are learning to be a learner and just to invest in myself all the time. Never stop investing in programs, realizing that it's actually, you're increasing your capacity to earn, you're increasing your capacity to help people, and you can only do that by learning and growing. So really recognising that, I spend fortunes on personal development and coaching and training because that's where you get the growth from, and you realise that you become a different person, you can help more people. And I think also the consistency with the hard stuff, like realising that why do most businesses not work, especially in the small business sector, because the marketing doesn't happen consistently enough, because we don't look at our numbers consistently. Those foundation pieces are what you build a successful company on. And they're the things, I'm saying marketing is still my nemesis, but I know I have to do it consistently. Otherwise, we're in that feast and famine cycle. And that's what destroys profit and cash flow. So they're the things I've become actually super obsessive about with my client. I think taking all of my 25 years in business, it's like I know this because I've done it and I've learned it the hard way. And I've seen hundreds of companies do this, and all the companies I've worked with, those consistent things that are the foundation. And you can't get success by winging it and not doing those things, because it will keep coming back to bite you. So, and I think it's an ongoing process of like daring to be who I really am and not keep hiding, not keep shrinking back into shrink back into your CFO mould, or daring to keep coming out and say, no, but there's more than that. And that's an ongoing challenge for sure.
And there is something difficult with that, isn't there, though, in terms of, because actually being completely vulnerable with ourselves and being the person that we really want to be, not the person who's expected.
Yes.
That's taking another layer of armour off, isn't it? And actually being perhaps judged for who you really are.
Yeah. Daring to say, like, when I launched this new bit, it was, going out and having the guts to say, I'm anti-hustle culture. I don't want this. I'm calling that stuff out and saying there's another way to do this. And that felt, and at the minute now it feels like completely normal, but at the time it's like, what will people think? What will they say? Will they write me off? Will they, will consultants used to refer me? Well, now I think like, you've just relegated yourself. But it's having the guts to say, yeah, but this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And I think there are companies who want to know that they don't have to do that aggressive path and they can still build wealth. And I want to be able to help them show them how to do that.
And like you say, not everybody wants a 10x hustle. No. There'll be people that, again, will have done your route in terms of going, well, I should be scaling, I should be doing this, I should. No, there's nothing wrong with wanting. And if that's really deep in your core to want to scale it and you've got a real driven purpose for it. But otherwise, there's nothing wrong with just having a business that actually serves you.
Yes. Because what are we doing it for? Is it to impress other people? And that's the issue. Like, so much of the wealth thing, isn't it? We buy things to look good for other people. We're trying to put an exterior show on to say this is how successful I am, and all you're doing is taking away your future wealth. And actually being brave enough to say, right, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is how I'm going to live. I've got my handbag light is completely battered, and I just don't care. I've got a 13-year-old car. I just don't care. Because it's paid for and it's not taking £500 a month out of my bank account.
And it is. It's all the value-driven side then. But then you're not going to scrimp on the things that actually bring you joy and experience.
Totally, yeah, for sure.
And that's the bit. It's understanding you rather than what someone's expecting of you.
And that's the hard thing in business, I think, because people don't have that almost like permission or space to go, what do you even want? And people go like, I don't know. Almost everybody asks, they go, I don't know. I literally don't know, because I've just been on the treadmill for so long doing what I'm meant to do. I've lost sight of what I even wanted. So once we sort the chaos out, we go into, right, you're going to work it out now. And they go, actually, it's less than I thought.
Yeah.
I want the kids to be happy. I want to know I've got enough in the pension. I want to have nice holidays. I want to love my work and I want to be healthy. I go like, okay. So we don't need the 5 million exit then. Like, guess not.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? I've got a quote on my office desk that's literally along the lines of, when I'm retired, what are the things that I'll look back on to know that I've done things right? And when you think about that, rarely is it, I'm sat in a mansion. That's not what's there. It's actually, do my children come and visit me? Actually, do they, have I still, is my husband sat next to me? That kind of element of, have I got a community? There's different drivers, and sometimes stepping into that and realising it's beyond the money.
How many business owners have you seen over the years whereby they've pushed hard, they've got the 2 Teslas, they've got the big house, they've burned through 2 or 3 marriages, they keep losing half their money every time it happens because they're working so, and sorry, I know it sounds like it's often men in that position, but it can be women too, but they've burned through the important things in their life chasing this crazy goal, looking successful. And actually, if you'd taken all that money, you'd spent all those things, stuck it in some investments, you'd have been retired, you'd have been free already. And maybe it didn't cost you your marriage and your kids.
No, I've got someone who I was talking to, and he was exactly talking that. He built and he hustled and he lost everything, and now realises that actually he did have everything. Yeah. If only he'd just stripped back some of the money. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
It is hard, yeah. Because it's hard to let go of what you think you should do and what you think people will think of you, but actually no one cares.
And even if they do, they're the wrong people to be judging you by. Yeah.
So being brave enough to say, like, this is what I want and this is what makes me happy. I mean, like, I've only worked 4 days a week for the last 8-9 years probably. And I still get as much done because I'm just more ruthless with my 4 days. But I don't care if people think that makes me less than because I'm not hustling 5 days a week. Like, don't care what you think. This makes me happy.
Do you feel there's been a big culture shift recently as well, that's a lot more accepting as well? And is that post-pandemic?
I think so, yeah. I think that thing where people start to go like, what am I doing this for? I want to be at home more. And then there's definitely far more people who are actually not starting to relate to the anti-hustle thing of like, because I don't know if you remember that I did a random post on LinkedIn in April, and it's the first time I'd posted in 5 years. I just thought, I need to get my face back out there a bit, because I've been very silent. And it went viral. It was like nearly 1 million hits across the world. And it was saying basically, I didn't upgrade my car and it's going to have made me £440,000 because I invested the money I'd have paid into car finance. And the outpouring of that was like, yes, we've had enough of being told we've got to keep driving. It's because a growth coach had said to me, when are you going to get a decent car, one befitting your position? And I had a brand new Golf at the time, but he said, you should be driving a 60 grand BM or something. I'm like, but I don't care about that. And he said, well, clients need to know you're successful when you draw up. Like, that is so toxic. And it was literally a random post I threw out and it went crazy because people were going like, yeah, we've had enough of this. The consumerism, the upgrade culture, being seen to be successful.
It's everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere. And it feels like it's escalated with Instagram moments or that kind of stuff. But I do feel like we're getting this root way through of actually, you know what, let's show up and be vulnerable and let's be honest and authentic and
for sure.
And actually say those things when we need to. It's probably why we've connected so well as well.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. And I think there are more and more people who are going like, because the overwhelming sentiment on that post was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling that out and saying, because there was a guy who was like a VP of a bank in California, and he's saying, I hide my car around the corner because of what my colleagues say, because I drive an old car. And he's like, and I don't care what they think because I'm not spending thousands of pounds a month on it.
No.
But people going like, yeah, we've had enough of this. And actually, we choose something different.
It's good. And if cars are your absolute passion, fine. But exactly that. If it's not, again, it's the handbag, isn't it?
If you love your car, have a nice car. Not saying don't, but it's not like, do it because you've chosen it.
Exactly. Your choice, your terms. This version of what you're doing now.
Yes.
Decided and fine-tuned and launched in the March.
Yes.
What is your offering?
So my offering now it's working with smaller business owners.
Yeah.
But people who are ambitious, people who they're very much like heart-led and they're realising they don't want that hustle culture and they are ready to go, yeah, but I want to do this my way. Yeah. But they are probably winging it with their finances. So they probably haven't got those bits in place that you and I would want them to have. So maybe they're coming to me and saying, look, my accountant's a bit crap, or my bookkeeper isn't very good, I don't know what my numbers mean. I want to do this stuff, but I don't know how to do it. I need a plan. So the first thing I do when I go in is kind of a fixed process, and you've actually been part of this for a lot of my clients recently. The fixed process is your accountant is rubbish. We're getting you a decent one. Move them over to Bev. Get the bookkeeping, because often the bookkeeping has been shocking, hasn't it? So getting that fixed. So the poor companies who are running blind, not knowing that they're being completely shortchanged by a bad accountant, that is so common, and I really want to shine a light on that.
I love that. Can we go through a quick fire round? Are you happy?
Oh yeah.
You ready? So don't overthink it. We ask every guest the same 6 questions. So if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
The long hours and the burnout will not be worth it. If I could pick one thing, not worth it. I look back and I completely regret my 30s. They were horrible. I was so unhappy, burnt out, miserable, ill.
How did you cope with that time as well? Because
alcohol.
Got you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
A lot of alcohol.
And it's really common, isn't it? Because we do turn to things like that to get through those difficult
it was
periods.
Awful. Hated it. I was unhappy. I was horrible to be with. Yeah, and to know that this will not be worth it. What's
one? This one could link to the same. So one belief, habit or rule that you wish you'd unlearned earlier. Because we learn lovely habits as we get wiser and older, don't we? But
I think the biggest thing for me and the theme of my life has been the trauma and the financial fear patterns I picked up from my early 20s. I think it took me a long, long time to break that. So when I was running my business, if we lost a client...
You'd take it personally.
Not to take it personally, my mind would take me straight to, therefore you're going to lose your house.
Yeah, okay.
This means you're shit at what you do. Nobody wants to work with you. So everything would always come back to, you're going to lose your house. And that I realised that fear was so deeply baked. And I went and got a lot of counselling and help and did the mindset qualification work, because realising that was clouding and colouring every decision. Like should we go on holiday? No, can't afford it. No, because we need money in the bank, because we might lose the house. So that was something I wish and maybe it just needed time to work its way through. But in those early 20s, 30s, before I'd learned about this right hand part of the brain and mindset and beliefs and stuff, and I also qualified as an NLP coach as well on the back of that.
Yeah,
they're like going, oh my God, there's all these other things that aren't just about spreadsheets and logic and profit and loss and balance sheets. So that's something I wish I'd understood and rewired earlier, because it did cloud a lot of my life.
And was that from kicking it under the carpet a little bit?
It was really gaining an acknowledgement of where the beliefs and habits were coming from. And that's the thing with mindset
so you've not
work.
perhaps connected it.
Yeah, you've got to really understand with mindset work, like where did that belief come from? Is that still true? How is it helpful? And then to start to rewire in, yes, but we are safe now. And, and just to make yourself realise that the reason you're having that thought coming up is because of that. It's not real.
Yeah.
And that's that realisation of not every thought you have is true, because your brain likes to play tricks on you, and your brain's only job is to keep you safe. Yeah. So it's going to disasterise everything, because that's how it keeps us safe. So I think that would be the thing I think has had the biggest impact on my life. I wish I could have changed sooner.
No, lovely, thank you. What's the best investment that you've made of money, time or energy?
That programme.
That programme, nice, okay.
Yeah, that programme.
I thought you were going to say your Volkswagen Golf.
Possibly, yeah, to be fair. Yeah, and that growth coach telling me to upgrade it. Yeah, I think the first thing that came to mind was that programme, because that literally did shift who I was as a person, and it opened out my capacity as a coach, and just the fact that left brain masculine dominated side of me wasn't the only part of me, and then there was this whole other piece, and that's really unlocked the work that I do now. And also the courage to really go big on your dream.
And so right now, what does success look like for you?
Unsurprisingly, it looks like doing what the hell I want.
Yeah.
It looks like doing the work of my life and helping people change their lives, which I'm doing with the work I'm doing now. So having that impact, fulfilling that mission. But it's around getting to choose how I spend my time. It's absolutely having time for the gym and to exercise and see my friends and my family. So it's that feeling of all the things I didn't get to do before. For me, it's just like choosing. It's about freedom. It's about saying, like, I'm going to go for a swim this afternoon, or I'm going to go and meet my friends, but it's not being on the treadmill.
Yeah.
And it's actually recognising, having had the ME, having had the cancer, health is the one thing you can't buy back. And having the opportunity to spend my time in such a way that now supports my health rather than destroys it.
No, that's such a powerful thing, isn't it? Who's one unsung hero who's shaped your journey?
Do you know, I think it probably needs to be my parents. Because since I was a baby, they've always had a business, and they've literally always been self-employed, always had hotels, restaurants. And just what I learned from them was the sheer amount of the grit it takes to run a business, the self-belief it takes to run a business and to stay the course. And, and just how much support they gave me, the sacrifices they made into my education, and just the belief that I can do anything. I don't think I'd be doing this now if I didn't come from that background.
Yeah, because of that entrepreneurial flair and that kind of showcasing. And
that thing of like, don't have to rely on anybody else for your income in your life. You make it yourself. That self-sufficiency of, I will make my own money. I will never rely, no one will ever have control over. I remember when I left Next, the IT director didn't want me to go, so he tried to recruit me in on a big increase because he wanted me to stay in the IT team. As I don't know, I can't remember what now, but I remember the finance director saying, no, I will not have her earning that much money. Right, no one's going to tell me what I can earn. No one's going to cap my capacity or my ability in life. And that really stuck with me. But that self-sufficiency of like, I own my own business. I get to decide
how much I
what
earn,
I do.
what I do, when I do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that feeling of like the freedom. And I think that's what they've given me.
That's amazing. And then what's one line that you say to yourself when things get tough?
So there's one line, and then there's kind of a little process I go through with it. The one line is, I haven't come this far to only come this far. So if it's been hard getting here, there's more to go. And when things are really tough, and I had a bit of a tough week this week, to be honest with you, it's like, right, this is happening for a reason. What's the lesson here to learn? There's a way and I will find it. And that always grounds me, like, okay, this is shit, but why is it happening? There's something here for you to learn. It's because you haven't got that cracked yet, or you haven't done that yet, or you, whatever it is, but there is a way and I will find it. And I just believe that that is true now. So I'll lie on the sofa, have a bit of a cry for a few minutes, have a bit of a shout and then go, right, okay, I've thought what the answer is.
Yeah, I've got my answer. I know what the learning point was here.
And I think that's that thing of the resilience you start to learn over time of like, no, I know I've got the answer somewhere. It's not going to beat me.
I love that again. Wow. And so if you put some, so I eventually want to put the quotes up on the wall.
Ooh.
So if you had a quote though, for a business owner to put on their wall to kind of turn to in those moments, and it can be that, I haven't come, this far to come this far, what would your little message be?
I think that is that one for me.
Yeah,
that's what keeps me going when things feel really hard, when I feel like I've come to the end of the road and I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't come this far to only come this far.
I love that.
Because then you realise it makes you reflect back on, look how much you have done and how much you have achieved. But it's not to only achieve this, there's more. So that always keeps me going.
There's definitely a theme here of that continually learning, that continual purpose, that, it's definitely shining through.
And I've got the cliche of, failure is not an option, but that's, that's a bit left brain masculine for me. It's more about, just believing
that
you can always find a way.
Encapsulates it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, saying failure isn't an option. I'll always find a way. Yeah.
So if someone could take away just one line from this conversation today, what would you want it to be?
Don't run your life or your business based on somebody else's version of success.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much. So I think from going all the way from finding our version of what makes us happy, understanding what's enough, giving ourselves the kind of the buffers to create our own freedom, and perhaps not even giving two flying monkeys what anybody else is thinking about us.
Yeah. Yes.
That continual self-investment in yourself has shone through as well. And just making sure that we're purpose-led. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Serena.
I feel like I've talked far too much.
So much. That's exactly what you're here to do. It's been absolutely incredible. So thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. It's been amazing.
Thank you.